Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms, firearms policy, politics, culture, media, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment, like and share the program so that your friends can join in the conversation. Also, if you haven't already done so, please remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram as well. And make sure that you hit on Facebook and YouTube, that you hit the notification button. That way you get notification as soon as we go live so you can participate in the live chat. Also, please take a moment, visit FPCgear.com. That's FPCgear.com. It is the place to go to get all sorts of cool Pro 2A swag, and know that every dollar that you spend goes right back into the fight for a right to keep and bear arms. So you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's FPCgear.com. So talking about fighting for our right to keep and bear arms, as you can see, or as you probably already know, we're here in Washington, D.C., and we are here speaking with whoever will hear us, but specifically those on Capitol Hill as well as the White House, about red flag laws and how dangerous they are. You guys have heard me talk about them, and we all know that I'm not a lawyer, and I didn't sleep at Holiday Inn Express last night. So I wanted to bring on the show someone who actually has a legal expertise, who has the expertise in this particular area, to be able to share with us really some of the details, not just about what has been done wrong, but what could potentially be done wrong utilizing red flag laws. So with that, and I know I'm about to butcher his name, but I'm going to try anyway. We have the Firearm Policy Coalition's Director of Legal Policy, Mr. Matthew Larosiere. Matthew, how are we doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
Excellent. How close did I come on the name?
You did a great job. I'm very proud of you.
It only took me a few times for me to be able to get this thing.
Bien fait, as they say.
All right. So here we are. Do me a favor and just kind of share with the folks here just a little bit about your background, and then some of the work that you've done in this area studying specifically red flag laws.
Okay, well, my background, actually before I went to law school, I was a mechanic. So went from there, went into law. By my training, I was a tax lawyer. When I came here to DC, and I started working at a think tank, and I was going to be doing tax law stuff there. I've always been a gun guy. I was always big into the Second Amendment. I was always big into having a gun. But when I was training, I always thought that doing gun rights work was something that, it's so sexy, it's so cool. No, there's no way I'll be able to get a job doing that. So I joined a think tank here on the Hill, and one day somebody came in and was like, "Does anybody know anything about guns?" They had a gun case, and I raised my hand, and next thing you know, I was the gun guy. So I made sure that our office filed in every single significant Supreme Court case respecting the right to keep and bear arms there, and I started writing more and more about the Second Amendment, about the right to keep and bear arms, and about firearms technology as well.
If I can interrupt you just real quick, and I think it's a real interesting aspect in terms of how you got into it. A lot of people don't realize that practicing law is, it's like medicine. It's like people specialize in certain areas, and a lot of people think that, if I get in trouble and I need to go get a lawyer, if it's related to guns, how important it is to have someone who actually understands the issue.
Right, and it's incredibly rare in the field, actually, especially when it comes to the technology of firearms. And that's something that I've learned more and more as I've gone in, is that there are very few lawyers who, I don't know if it's because of a lack of interest or just a lack of people who want to put in the time to learn about the history of arms regulations and how they relate to everyday people's use of arms. But so I focus a lot on the technology. I wrote a lot about 3D printing and home-built firearms, and eventually I got in touch with FPC, and here we are now, and we're doing some really exciting things that I'm really proud to be a part of.
Well, we are very, very proud to have you. And yes, sadly, they are exciting times. I wish they were more boring times.
Right.
But it's good to have good people in the middle of this fight. So let's talk specifically about red flag laws and some of the work that you've done and some of the writing that you've done on this issue.
Right. So red flag laws are one of those things that they come forward and they come out with a good sounding name and a good sounding purpose. But just like everything else, when you look at the title of a law, right? Like, so red flag law, extreme risk protection orders, you can almost be sure that what it's actually going to do is the polar opposite.
In other words, it sounds good on paper.
Right. So yeah, with red flag laws, they come out, they claim to be this is about taking, arms away from people who are seriously dangerous and who have shown a tendency to cause harm. In actuality, what's happening is that in the states where this has been in place, for a few years, we've been able to get some data. It's really just anyone and everyone. There's no mechanism to prevent people from misusing the system. And people will say, oh, well, not anybody can call in a red flag law, right? Only the police can.
Yeah, but
right, and who's allowed to call the police?
Right, but they're making it like in California. They're trying to expand it to everybody and their mother, and quite frankly,
your cousin's dog walker's brother.
Your cousin's dog walker's brother.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about it is that the only way in which they have to measure success is how many guns they've confiscated.
Exactly, and so then we've seen a study coming out now that claims that the California's law may have stopped, I'm seeing a lot of weasel words there, may have stopped, a number of mass shootings. How they calculated this was by going in, and there was like 430 seizures total they could look at. There was only about 130 of those that they had any data on at all. And in those 130, 21 had of the people who the red flags were entered against, had some point on social media, said something about a mass shooting. And so, we're obsessed with mass shootings in this country. Right. That's all that anybody can ever talk about. So, do you really think that everybody who might get emotional and freak out online and say something about a mass shooting is the same 1 in 100 million person who would actually do it? Well, but the people who are supporting these laws, they don't care. They're pretending that taking guns away from somebody is the same as disarming a dangerous person.
Well, exactly. And I will tell you, having been engaged in social media and social media communications since I want to say over a decade now, I can tell you that people online are not who they are oftentimes in person, and can tend to say things online with a little less caution than they would if they were saying it in person, or if they were saying it in a situation where they think they might get in trouble. For some reason, they think there's this anonymity online.
Right.
But that is literally being used against people, and actually it is in part the foundation in some cases for some of these instances of people utilizing red flag laws, right? Right.
Like, let's look at that case in Oregon where that ex-Marine was at a protest, and he got on a megaphone and he said, I'm not condoning anything that he said or anything, but this is what happened. If Antifa uses violence against us, if Antifa kills us, I will, basically said, I will kill them. And then the FBI goes and cooperates, works together with Oregon police to have this man's arms seized. And also, not only that, but they physically prevented him from attending more political rallies. And that was reported as, cooperation between federal and state authorities leads to, removal of a serious threat. I mean, you don't have to agree with the guy, right? You don't have to agree with what he said. In fact, I think it was pretty weird. I wouldn't be saying that over a loudspeaker, especially not in public. But to me, that sounds like protected speech. Right. To me, that sounds like First Amendment conduct. And so because he exercised his First Amendment right, despite him exercising it in a somewhat weird way, he now not only lost his Second Amendment right, but his First Amendment right. It's the right to political assembly.
Exactly.
And this is touted as a accomplishment, and it's accepted. And the fact that the public is accepting these results as evidence that these laws can do good, that's concerning. That's more concerning.
Well, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Is number one, he lost his Second Amendment rights because he expressed his First Amendment rights. But then, because they felt like, well, if it's okay for us to take away his Second Amendment rights, we'll now take away his First Amendment rights.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, folks, that we keep trying to tell these people. as much as we support the Second Amendment, this isn't just about the Second Amendment. It's about saying that if any one of your fundamental rights can be taken away for a perceived security, then all of your civil rights can be taken away under a perceived security.
Right.
And that's the sort of tyranny that, quite frankly, the Second Amendment was written to fight against.
Exactly, because on principle, right, when you get down to principles, what is the difference between your right to bodily autonomy, the right to, control and provide a self-defense in case of unlawful force? What is the principal distinction between taking that away and taking away your right to speak, taking away your right to assemble with friends? There isn't. There's no difference. So, once you've gone into that hole, then you also say, but we've got him locked up for a red flag order, so may as well search his whole house, like they do in California with the gun violence seizure order, because Fourth Amendment, whatever.
Right.
Look, it's about safety. It's about safety.
These are criminals, clearly, even though they've committed no crime.
Right.
But we know they're criminals, right?
Well, we can make up a crime for them to commit.
Exactly. I'm sure that if we search their home, we'll find something.
Maybe a bag of weed. I don't know. Something. It's
well, actually, in California, that's not going to cause them any problem.
What if he didn't get it from a licensed dispensary? Maybe
Excuse
that's
me, sir, do you have your receipt for this marijuana?
Yeah.
No, but anyway, but it's not just that. Now, one of the things, and you guys just put out, or you guys, we, but I didn't write it, so I say you guys.
The royal we.
Put together a white paper on this particular issue. And you brought up some very interesting information, in particular when it comes to the cost and how it's going to affect people of moderate means in order to be able to fight against these red flags.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, no, that's our new policy paper. It just came out, and incredibly proud of the work that the rest of our team worked on. Adam Kraut, Joseph Greenlee, they put in an incredible amount of work, incredible amount of research to really get all of the information for you to have in one shop. It's in one package. So if you want to know everything you need to know about red flag laws, definitely check out that the bulletin. But as far as how this works, so let's go through the process. Somebody, petitions the government to take your weapons, or to issue a red flag order, however that looks in your state. Something happens, a hearing happens before the court. You're not even there. You don't have an opportunity to defend yourself, and there's no one there to defend you, right? So how do you think that's going to go, right? Probably not in your favor. So then you fast forward. The hearing's been granted, and by the way, right after it grants, it's now like a felony in most states.
Let's note. No, your guns have been taken away. You can't skip that part.
Well,
they're gone.
Well, but your right to them is gone, right? But you've still got them in your house because obviously you didn't know anything about this. So what happens next depends a lot about what the police want to do in your jurisdiction, what the court ordered them to do. But the moment that order happens, it's now usually a felony for you to continue having your weapons that you lawfully acquired and you had no reason to know anything about. So they come to bring you the order, and sometimes they come to search your house and take your arms. This is the first time you're hearing about that. Okay, and so what you're saying is, what do I do? The next thing you have to do is show up to the formal hearing, the second hearing, where the burden of proof for keeping the order in place is very low. Basically, the government doesn't have to prove much. Oh, and by the way, you don't get a lawyer. So you're on your own. If you want a good defense, well, you're gonna have to cough up. And if you've ever tried to hire a private lawyer, because you're not entitled to a public one, it's thousands of dollars to retain.
And they don't give you a standard by which to prove you're not a danger to yourself or others.
Well, they do, but it's more that the state standard that they have to meet in order to enter the order is very low. Okay. So it depends on the state, but it's usually beyond a reasonable doubt is what you have to be proven by to be guilty of a crime in the United States, and that's like, in mathematical terms, that means like there's enough evidence to say it's 99% sure that you're doing this. The standards that are used in red flag order cases are more like between 25 and 51%, right? So like preponderance of the evidence, standards like that. It just means that, like, oh yeah, maybe, probably. That's the standard you're going up against. So then you need a lawyer to be able to conclusively, like, say, oh, it is 99%,
Right.
it's more than this percent that he's innocent, despite, him not having committed a crime. So he's innocent of the conduct that has been alleged against him, which was like, maybe you posted weird lyrics to a song or something on Facebook and somebody took that threateningly. So, all right, let's say your lawyer, that you hired, he cleared that burden and the order doesn't get entered, right? So now it's clear. You've got your rights back. Well, does that mean you get your stuff back? No, because there's a process that you have to go through. And again, it is not automatic. They don't just have to hand you your things. You have to petition the state to get your things back. And you think your buddy, the lawyer buddy, is going to do that for free? I'm a lawyer, but I know lawyers.
Right.
They're not doing it for free.
Right.
So listen, the people who need guns the most, right? The people who are in the most danger of being attacked, of being subject to unlawful force, are poor people. The majority of victims of violent crime are poor and minority people that are below the poverty line. Okay, for these people, their one and only handgun may have been something that they've saved for months to get. Or like a good handgun costs like $500 these days. For, I know there are other options, but
Right.
a good one costs like $500. Then you're in that position now. Your order's not been entered. You've got your rights back. Are you going to have the cash to like spend $800, $1,000 to have somebody walk you through the legal process to get your handgun back? No, and that's why in California, of the people who've had the orders dissolved, and this is people who the court decided, okay, there was no reason to do this in the first place. Here's your rights back. Only 40% of them ever get their property returned to them.
Oh wait. I thought 40% of them didn't get their. So you're saying only 40% of them actually get their stuff back?
60% do not get their stuff back.
Wow.
Yep.
Now, if that is not gun confiscation, I don't know what is.
Yep, and it's harming the people that most need it. That's what's important here. People, they always say, and I don't doubt that the people who support these laws want to help, like they want to do something positive, but it's reckless to not, just look forward. Just look forward and look at the demographics, and you can see how these laws are enforced and what actually happens. And it's devastating to people. Oh, and by the way, we have a case like this. So let's say, remember, in between that point where the order gets entered against you, you don't know anything about you, and you don't know anything about the order, and you actually getting served to where you get notice of it?
Right.
It could be 3 days, could be 2 weeks, but during that time, you're still committing a felony if you have the weapon on you. So let's say you get pulled over for a speeding ticket. The officer asks you, hey, do you have a gun on you? You're, oh, of course. You show it to him. He's got it in the system. You're subject to a red flag order. He bags you with a felony.
Wow.
All right? The red flag order never goes through. The court said there was no cause for it or whatever. That's out the window. You think they throw out your weapons possession charge? No. And we have actually seen that happen multiple times.
Wow.
To people that now they've got a felony. They didn't do anything wrong except for be in the wrong place at the wrong time and just, they just had bad luck. And that's basically what the state is saying. Oh, well, bad luck. It was technically a felony when you had it because reasons.
Because guns.
Yeah, because guns. Yeah.
Wow. So do me a favor. Where can folks find this policy paper? Where can they find it and read it?
You can go to firearmspolicy.org. We've got a section for all of our policy papers that are there, and I think also FPCpolicy.org.
Yeah.
Just on our websites, we boost this stuff on our Twitter, our Instagram, which you should be following, as my friend said already. But yeah, we've got a lot of exciting stuff come out. We've got a lot of new projects coming out. Our goal is to break down every single one of these policy proposals that you're hearing and just give a full, thorough, detailed background on the history, on the how it actually works and the outcomes, so that you guys, when you want to go and read it, you'll be fully equipped to have fully informed arguments and discussions with people, and you're probably going to say things that people have never thought about. So it's exciting.
You know what? And I got to tell you, and I had a chance to read the one on red flag laws, and I'll tell you, folks, it's easy to read. It's not in a bunch of legalese, but it's put in terms and terminology that we can all understand. And they really lay out all of the arguments really exceptionally well. So you guys go read that, share it with your friends, make sure everybody's looking at it. And oh, by the way, before we go, let me just make sure to remind you guys, please make sure, if you haven't already done so, go to stopredflaglaws.com. That's stopredflaglaws.com. Make sure that you sign the petition. Send a message to the White House. Send a message to the Senate that we do not need these, as has been clearly spelled out today and in that policy paper. Red flag laws are dangerous. They are a dangerous assault on our fundamental civil rights, not just the right to keep and bear arms, but several others. And so it's important that we not allow this, that we not allow a federal law encouraging or supporting these unconstitutional bills to go into effect. Anything you want to share before we close out?
No, just to, guys, keep your eye on the space. We've got a lot of exciting projects coming out, stuff that I think you're really going to like. It's going to be really useful in the debate going forward. And just don't be, the mainstream media and social media are probably making you feel really uncomfortable on your rights. You should always be, ready to fight for your rights every day. But, we're working really hard, and I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that we're going to get some good things done.
Well, Matt, once again, thank you so much. Thank you for all the work that you do, and thank you for coming on the program. Thank you for coming to D.C. with us today, this week or next couple of weeks. All right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program, letting your friends know about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them, or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.